Alrighty guys, here we are back on the Dead Dog Saloon yet again with Yokat playing killer for Luminescence as the Wraith on the Dead Dog Saloon. Very interesting map for Wraith. You have a lot of short tiles to play around. However, we're already in chase with Marco here on the thing, using the main palette already. This is one of the stronger palettes on the map. Very well played by Marco, using the check spots properly on the palette. This is me, Yokat, missing the hit, and we're gonna apply pressure elsewhere. We've got Adam here, Pedro, HC, ready to use another pallet right by the Jin on Gallows, which has just been pressured. Now has access to the shack, a tile, but the breakable wall has already been broken, so that's gonna be a hit coming through for Yokat. Good job on breaking that wall early, allowing the shack window to become way less safe, more of a 50-50. Or even more in the killer's favor, as Yokat might be forced to break another pallet here just because Marco was, or this is actually Sir, who was just vaulting over it. So far, very well played on the Survivor and Chase, and we're going to head over to this other pallet with Sir, who is doing a really good job on the vaults, judging from the unsafe pallets. A hit applied there. Very strong hit coming in from Yokat.
Yeah, really nicely done there. I think we saw a little bit of a hit and run playstyle here as we see Pedro get reset off in the distance. Nia trying their best to make it to main. I'm so surprised by now that people don't have any PTSD from these lockers and the head-on players. We do unfortunately see Sir take it down because there was no head-on there. Could have really given him a couple of extra moments around that main building. But first hook at 5 gens, everyone's back to full health, so we're looking pretty good for now. I think Yokat's going to go on the rounds trying to find these pesky survivors and pressure some generators. We did know that there are a couple over at the water tower, so naturally it's the first place that he looks, but not able to find anyone there. We do see, hello, Fang, wake up, we do see the Fang here, and we see someone else in the distance. I think Yokat, with that sloppy butcher, going to be really happy to apply pressure through free hits and getting survivors out of position. Changed his mind though, and now he wants to go back and just make sure that Sir is comfy on that hook as he sees someone go in for the save.
Yeah, Wraith being sneaky as always, applying the proper hit and run tactics. Did not take the hit onto Pedro here. That was a little interesting. I thought that was pretty much a free hit, but Yokat did not want any save coming through. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to do a very light patrol onto Sir here and use our perks such as Scorch Hook, Pain, Resonance to get any regression applied from that hook, 25%. But maybe you might want to look for another unique hook in this scenario just to regress any gens further. You're still up at 5 gens. Maybe even possibly try to get a kill on 5 gens if possible. Never mind, a gen just popped. Very well played from Master Survivors. Finally managing to get that gen done. Although Yokat has already broken a lot of pallets. A lot of the resources on this map are looking quite slim. And I think Master's making the right choice not to touch the main generator yet. You do want that generator. And judging from this hook, Yokat doesn't really seem to have any strong 3 gen. That main gen is really hard to defend as killer, and we're not over by the gallows, so yeah, I mean, it's not easy to defend as killer, so Yokat's just going to go ahead and try and force death onto Sir here, and I think Master's going to allow that to happen, because Marco's already injured. Pedro and Drago all the way across the map are the only healthy survivors, although they're going to get 3 gens out of it, so somewhat punishing Yokat for that light patrol onto Sir.
Yeah, we do find the criminalist here in the main building, though he's going to do some juke looping up and around the main building. We should see that that wall not being broken. We're choosing to bam the window instead. I'm not quite sure if Pedro realized it, but he does manage to go downstairs. Not too much to work with down here, except for the best pallet on the map, which we're going to see over here. A big pre-drop there. He's going to be playing this. He doesn't have much choice, but Yokat is too smart, and he knows the mind games at the rock tile, and he's going to down our poor boy Pedro there. But you can see again the survivors pressuring those gens, and Yokat making a really good decision to leave the survivor slugged and to go and protect these gens because there's a lot of progression there. He does get a brutal, a Shadow Dance kick to that gen there. And we do find DRAGO running around the water tower here, unfortunately tasting the water tower a little bit with his face. But he does take a hit and head on out. I think we're going to see Yokat pursue Drago over here and take the chase to a complete different area of the map as Pedro is able to get picked up.
Is that a water tower or is it a... Is there a water tower and a windmill there? I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be the down onto Drago. Very well played from Yokat. But you'll notice that even with all this pressure that Yokat has been putting out, Master has managed to push through, already having 4 generators done with, I believe, the main building generator still up. So I think that's what Pedro is going to go ahead and try to work on. However, this is not going to be the hit applied to Marco, as Yokat managed to hit the wood, +1 wood instead of +1 injure onto Marco, but finally outplays the pallet. Marco not really playing for the stun there, instead just tries to evolve the pallet for as long as possible, delaying enough time for Pedro to get the unhooked onto Drago, and that might be some resets coming out. However, Yokat does play that chase pretty well, gets it down quite quickly onto Marco, and they're going to go ahead and reset. Maybe looking to get some gens done after as they split up.
Yeah, we are going to be doing a reset over there, really nicely done by our survivors. I think it's paramount, Squill, that we're resetting and kind of playing it slow in a sense here, because without exhaustions and playing injured against Wraith, it just makes it very risky. If you're caught out of position without exhaustions and injured, it's a recipe for disaster. So I think that the survivors are doing really good things here, getting those resets in and prioritizing them over the gens.
Yeah, and you'll see on Marco. Marco is running Blast Mine along with For the People and Tenacity coming out as well to possibly counter any sort of slugging. And I think we've seen a little bit of slugging coming out from Yokat as well this game, so possibly some Tenacity value coming in there. Has main window available here, is going to go ahead and bamboozle. Honestly, the smart play coming out from Yokat. Although Marco might be able to get enough distance around this pallet to vault it again. Very good fake on the pallet coming out from Marco. Reading the Wraith's movement.
It's too strong.
Yes, very cracked pallet over there. Honestly, if you can play for the stun end on the pallet and have your check spots down, I mean, yeah, you're going to be pretty cranked on that pallet. Now Pedro playing for the stun possibly on this pallet. Gonna go ahead and do a standoff. Yokat swinging through, trying to take control of the pallet position. Very good stun coming out from Pedro. Honestly, the best thing he could have done there. Yokat is gonna go ahead, break the pallet, and probably take spacing elsewhere. Hit and run Wraith strategies coming out, but possibly some mind games coming through on the Pedro, as that main gen is being worked away by Marco, who has yet to be reset, but is in a pretty safe position considering its main. Yokat is going to go ahead and remove that window option early and try and maybe sneak up on Marco here, who doesn't know that the window has already been bamboozled, but that scary pallet is still up. Yokat finally choosing to break it. It's gone. Marco corner teching here, and that's going to be the down on Marco. Are there any hooks nearby, though?
We are not caring. Yeah, not caring about if there's hooks nearby or not. We're happy to leave him down and go and pressure this gen, which we did see Pedro pre-leaving being quite smart about it. Probably some epic communications there from Marco saying that he's been slugged and doing a little bit of stealthing now. I think with the cosmetics, it wouldn't surprise me if he's hiding somewhere. We can see these stealthing legends over here. If there's any map to stealth on, it's certainly the Dead Dog Saloon. I'm guessing is upset he didn't bring the aura reading out on Wraith. They're so close that he just can't sniff them out. But he will be going back over to his slug, it seems, which is just making sure that no one's over there. Here we go. We did find Pedro. He's out of the bush. He's away from the rock and he's showing himself here. He will be taking a hit and heading over to the main building. This does make it a little bit tricky now because a lot on Drago's shoulders there, where we can either Caster's Curse once again. We can either pick up the slug or progress the gen, but unfortunately, neither of those are going to take a hit, and now I think YoCat's in a really good position. Everybody injured. He knows the location of all of the survivors, and all he has to do now is find them. I have to just talk about, I just think it's so funny that he hasn't broken that door and just bamboozles the window. This is one of the first times where I've not seen that top door broken in the main building.
Yeah, how much time does it really cost you to break that doors, right? That's going to be the down on the Drago as well. YoCat doing a really good job, hit and run tactics, sneaking up on the generator in order to get the hit. That generator has blocked line of sight, so it's one of the harder ones to work on a survivor, I'd say, versus Wraith. But they do have the main generator still available. It's going to be worked away on by Marco up there. And I think what YoCat is possibly looking for in this scenario is another pain resonance, and might get that with Marco, considering YoCat has not hooked onto a Scourge Hood with Marco yet, and that's going to be the unhook coming out onto Drago. So Master still trying to push through this match, even with all the pressure that Wraith has in the scenario. This is possibly going to be the down on Pedro here, not able to make the pallet in time. YoCat's pressure is absolutely brutal onto Master here. Very well played. I think if you're Luminescence here, you're going to be very happy with this Wraith result. You're going to have a lot to work with if YoCat is able to push through fully and get that 4K on one gen. And I think if you're Master here, you're really wanting to get at least that last gen done, so that you can at least say you have all gens done. You have the 10 points from doing so.
Yeah, it does look like we're going to do a potential hatch play here. Drago in the locker is got head on ready. I'm not quite sure if he's just waiting for the Wraith to come and find him, or if he's just stealthing out and waiting for the end of the end game to get that hatch. But I think never mind. Once again, we stealthed so hard that we made it over to the hook and were able to save here. But we do find Drago running to the main building. It's now his turn to get on the floor. We do need to consider Marco's bleed out bar over here with his tenacity walking around. Now, 4K1 is quite common that we have seen on Wraith on Dead Dog. It is an incredibly common result, and I think that's what we're going to be getting here. Again, for the Survivor team, unfortunate results here. But again, I think with YoCat, the way that he's played, his decision-making has been incredible, knowing when to slug, when to go back to hook, when to camp, when to check gens. I think he's done an incredible job of keeping pressure up. And the same with our survivors. They were pushing till the end, right? No exhaustions, resetting, prioritizing that reset. I think both sides played really well, but the way that we see it now, it just looks like YoCat had that upper hand.
Yeah, it seems so, although Marco is really going to go ahead and try to use that Gamer Tenacity perk to try and force the bleed out, denying any extra points to YoCat. Just trying to give Master's Killer an extra opportunity, and I think that's going to go ahead and happen. Marco is going to bleed out, denying some points for Luminescence. So YoCat's just going to go ahead, give up on finding Marco, and take the 2 stages onto Pedro. So Master, they got 4 gens done. They denied some points onto Luminescence. So honestly, probably the best play points-wise they could have made in the end game there, since of all the pressure that YoCat managed to have, being able to pressure those gens that have blocked line of sight, and using Wraith's speed around the map to the advantage. And yeah, very well played coming out from YoCat, I'd say. I also feel like Master did a really good job pushing through those gens there, even with the early down, even with the early pressure on the hook. But we'll see Master's Wraith after a short break.
Knock knock, it's housekeeping. It's me, Barn. Hello, here to talk about what just happened. We did have 2 banned perks on our survivors, giving them a -2, a smelly little black card, a big head on as we load in. And unfortunately, a change to the win con. So now not only do they need to complete 5 generators, but with that -2, they also need to have somebody head on out of these gates or the hatch. They need an escape now instead of just completing 5 gens. So a little change there, but we're off to a good start with a quick chase here. Not a hit there, an accidental vault into the killer, but then a quick save there as they revolted over just in time. We are going to switch targets here, and we're going to start chase against Delusion here on the ace over pre-dropping the wood, playing it safe, doesn't want to get affected by that sloppy butcher. We do have Bam, we do have Pain Res, and we do have Corrupt, so a pretty standard build here, Squill.
Yeah, this pallet can be pretty brutal for an M1 killer depending on how it's played, but Delusion is just going to opt to take distance towards Shaq. That's going to get the hit applied onto Delusion. Are we looking to commit to this chase, or are we looking to just pressure other survivors? Looks like Pedro wants to just go ahead and get it down as quick as possible. Honestly, the hits on the other survivors might come through, as Luminescence might decide to take some hits in this scenario. Delusion playing the pallet very well, deciding to vault into the killer. Firecracker coming out as well. That's going to be the blind onto Pedro, who's running Shadow Dance and Swift Hunt for the faster uncloak speed. And just going to go ahead and die towards the corner of the map. No hits coming through. So it looks like they're trying to get as many generators out of the way as possible, wanting to pop. I think we're looking at 3 generators possibly being completed in this scenario, as they're perfectly split up on generators, and they want to get as much early pressure as possible. They already know that they have some early stages to work with. You do have some breathing room if you're Luminescence on Survivor in this scenario. However, that was the Pain Resonance onto Wax Up Generator, so that's 25% progression right there, as Pedro's now in chase with VLT. And gonna go ahead and take the hit and run and just leave towards the hook.
Yeah, apply a little bit of pressure over here. He sniffed out the save and he came back just at the right time. We do have that gen pop in the distance. You were right about the 3 gens there. We do now have 3 gens complete, 3 survivors injured, and 1 stage here on the hook. It wouldn't surprise me now, Squill, if these survivors are going to locate each other and do a little bit of group healing, hopefully get things back on track. We do see the reset on VLT. We do see La Magic playing really nicely at this pallet as well, greeting a little bit, not dropping it until they dropped it, but now they've got the back-to-back fillers here. Both dropped their Bloodlust kicking in here, so I think it's only a matter of time now before the hit comes through. Pedro doing his best to mind game this and not break the pallets, but also wanting to get this down here. So really tough position for him to be in, to keep that Bloodlust. We're now at Bloodlust 2. The survivors are coming in to save the day, to give him a little bit of help. Beautiful, beautiful body blocks coming in here from Delusion. Look at this. Look at the teamwork that we see on our survivors. A swing and a miss. He did the inside tech. We see here the hit does finally come through, though. We are going to be breaking these pallets now, which leaves Delusion with not too much to work with in this area. I think Pedro has learnt just what can happen if he doesn't break these pallets. Now only leaving this one. It's quite a tough spot for Delusion to be in. If he can make this one, which he does, a big swing, but a miss. Greeting. I'm not used to seeing it. It's giving me anxiety, Squill. Help!
Yeah, it looks like the Russian Luminescence, very practiced on these unsafe pallets, gets the stun as well, really showing the amount of skill coming out from the survivors here. And that might be the windmill generator, water tower, whatever you want to call it, being completed quite quickly, as it's already 75%. But looks like Pedro might be able to pressure it in this scenario, although it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Wait, that's another generator already done right there. Looks like Delusion really stalled enough time, and I don't think that's going to be the Pain Resonance time. I think that's all 5 generators completed. Very well played coming out from Luminescence, and now it's just down to the gates. No perks such as No Way Out, no in-game perks to work with here. You're pretty much just relying on Sloppy Butcher to keep the survivors injured, and possibly even just secure a 1k here if you're Pedro in this situation. But it doesn't even matter, considering that it's just not going to provide you with enough points. But that is the down up to Delusion. Pedro is looking to slug here, maybe in order to beat any sort of win condition possible, but does decide to just take the hook, predicting the survivors to be on the door, although that's going to be the unhook coming through onto Lay Magic. And a 3-out here would pretty much guarantee a win for Luminescence on the set, and I believe that's what they're going to go ahead and take. Very well played coming out from Luminescence. Pedro is accepting the 1K and keeping the confidence up, moving on to the next set.
Yeah, we do see the 3 out there, so that's really, really well played there from Luminescence. Again, I spoke about the strength of this Survivor team, and I was not messing around. I wasn't joking. I think that was a really, really good display of just what they're capable of. The body blocks coming in at the perfect time, the pallets being utilized to the best of their abilities, and our survivors putting up a really, really nice performance against the Swift Destroyer Philip Ajomo there. We do end up with a final score here, which results in the win going to Luminescence. So even with that -2, they were unable to be beaten. So we will be switching over to our next set. We're looking at the Cenobite, and we're going to be back for you after a short break.
Alrighty guys, here we are, back on the Dead Dog Saloon yet again. Although this time, not being Wraith, we are actually playing the Cenobite. Was played earlier in the stream in a separate match. They were quite interesting. However, we're already finding the box here. That's made massive pressure onto Luminescence survivors, as they have to kind of ignore generators here and pretty much just go for the box. And I don't think there's much generator progress to be had yet, as Marco still tries to find his first victim from Luminescence to chase. And so far, 2 survivors found on main, being applied pressure from the chain hunt, and Dead Dog main building proving to completely somehow deny any sort of chain going onto the survivors. Being as the verticality is there. And Delusion now has the boxes in chase with the Cenobite as well. No pressure to Delusion here, but it's not going to be easy. Still in chase with Delusion.
Him greeting these pallets and playing them like it's not something that we usually see in comp, which just makes it exciting, right? He's running to pallets, not dropping them early. We do unfortunately see the end result of that as everyone comes in to help. Everyone is here. That means no one is on the gen. They all want the save, but no one can get it in time. Really unfortunate there. The whole team was set up for it. That means we have no gen pressure. We have everyone hovering for a pallet save, but unfortunately it's not going to come through. We are going to do some information chains over to the basement area now, just to see where our survivors could be positioned. I'm unsure if he's going to kind of sit at the hook and pressure with the chains, which in my opinion, Squill, would be the right play, because he kind of knows where people are, right? He knows that someone's on the box over there. He can check the gens with his chains, so he's in a pretty good spot if he just wants to sit around here.
Yeah, absolutely no generator progress yet, just because of those chain hunts being so brutal in the early game. Marco was able to find that box early and use the pressure from the chain hunt. And then again, Delusion tried to cleanse the box or solve the box, whatever you want to call it, but it just didn't work out, as Marco was able to hit a chain onto him and pressure him in chase. No hit takes came out for Delusion, unfortunately, as well. And Marco now knows that VLT is pretty much not pressuring any gens, so we're going to see a very light patrol coming out from Marco onto Delusion. That's to be the forced second stage, as Marco maybe tries to go for a chase here onto VLT, but it's just not going to happen. And still no generators completed. 2 stages into the game. Not a single... Never mind. There is one gen completed over there by the windmill and the water tower on the Dead Dog Saloon. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it as far as generator progress goes so far for Luminescence. Marco really putting Master in a good spot so far.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he's got no reason to leave, right? He's going to force the survivors to come in as they do now for the two-man unhook. Are they going to get it though? There's one hit. There is, unfortunately, a body blocking. There is not. Oh, this is not looking good. This is not how you want to do a two-man unhook. We do get Delusion off the hook, but in return, we have a slug. We have another hit, and I'm not quite sure what Delusion has to work with here at the main building. We are going to see the pickup onto VLT, which is nice, but I'm not quite sure if they're going to get it in time, which they end up doing anyway. So all of that pressure, and Marco's off here, still in chase with Delusion. I think if there's one thing that he should have learned, yeah, if there's one thing he should have learnt from the Wraith game, it's do not chase that boy Delusion. I think we all saw what he's capable of, and he's going to be up to his shenanigans again at this downed pallet. A swing and a miss. We are going to be continuing the chase around here. I'm not sure if someone's going to come in for a body, but it's again another swing. We need to get Marco to calm down. Here we go. That swing allowed Nancy to come in here and get the body block. Beautifully played. Another gen done, and we are going to continue the chase, just taking a slight detour. Again, not breaking that pallet, giving a little bit of extra distance here. Really nicely done. Delusion is just absolutely in his element, running these killers all around the Dead Dog. I think he 1v1s Dead Dog for a living.
Yeah, and you might ask yourselves, was this tunnel commit onto Delusion really worth it, as Marco misses another chain, but head-on coming through from Blackset. Very good communication there, and Marco has finally given up on Delusion, possibly a little too late, but might be gets it down onto Waxsets here. Very well played by Marco, possibly with a chance to come back in this scenario. However, a lot of time committed to Delusion there for almost absolutely nothing, as you didn't really get an extra hook. You do have the 2 stages onto Delusion though. You have the possible death hook, but something earlier, Marco did have the down already onto VLT. That would have been an early fresh stage. I think maybe Marco could have just opted to take the deep wound onto Delusion, denying a possible reset, and then chase Delusion later, but that just didn't happen, and you're here with 1 fresh hook onto Waxsets, 2 generators remaining, and Delusion on death hook as well. However, VLT was in an interesting position there, not allowing for any chain to happen while solving the box, and that's almost a total reset coming out, minus Waxsets being on the hook. And if you're Luminescence here, you're looking to get gen pressure, and you're looking to possibly save Waxsets before second stage, maybe, although it doesn't look like Marco wants to let it happen. And that's going to be the second stage, now onto Waxsets as well. Both 2 survivors now on death hook, Lay Magic and VLT being the 2 that are still fresh. And if you're Luminescence here, you're really wanting to get them out, as Marco is pressuring generators here.
Yeah, coming over just to see what's happening with the gens. Good decision there not to chase that Nia. And we're just going to be coming over to see the progress on the gens here. You can see Luminescence have left a nice split of gens left in the area, which kind of forces our Cenobite to venture around the map to check on their progress. Nia taking a hit there. Wouldn't surprise me if that filthy survivor runs to the main building, which they're going to be doing. Have to Juke a Looper the chains now. They are going to be going to the strongest tile of the Dead Dog Saloon back here at the Rock. We're going to make sure that they do not get access to that main building again. I think it's only a matter of time Yes, I think Marco's not falling for any more pallet fakes. He's just going to ring around the rosy with La Magic here. But a nice place to die in. It may sound a little bit hurtful of finding a good place to die, but away from the gens, allowing the progress here. Look at them waiting out the pain res in our survivors here. A lot of progress on these gens, really nicely done. Once again, I think this is a spectator bug, guys. He's not actually face camping. There's no need to be upset. It's just a spectator bug. We do see him now venturing around again to protect the gens. Unfortunately, the placement of this hook, though, is going to deny progress on that Gallows gen. Again, with the decision making, I'd say not the greatest from Marco's side after the unhook on Delusion. He's managed to pull it back and get a few more stages, which has been pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, Marco really just looking to play for the points at this point, and I think it was a good choice not to commit to the chase on Delusion earlier, really just pulling through with that third Pain Resonant stack. Maybe if Marco can get it down onto BLT here, can possibly deny that last generator completion from another 25% regression coming through from Pain Resonance. So far, 3 stacks have been used, and Marco now has the opportunity to commit to a chase on Delusion here, possibly get a death coming through, although Delusion playing this unsafe pallet pretty well as he picks spacing away, maybe towards the shack. Still has a lot left to work with as there hasn't been much chase action so far, and not a lot of resources destroyed coming through from Marco. Still has the breakable wall up on the shack, still has some breakable walls up on main building. There's a lot for the survivors to really work with here, and that might be a completion coming through on that generator near the shack there, as they are two-manning it, hard committing. Marco just wants to see if he can maybe get a kill here. I don't think he'll be able to make this generator in time. Yeah, that's made the last generator completion. Still 4 survivors remaining, only 1 injured, but we do have the Noed coming out. Could get some value here as there are 2 survivors pretty much just near an unsafe pallet as Marco looks for the down onto BLT, but Delusion is going to do a good job taking hit, and BLT still has a pallet to work with here, still has that shack window to get to. BLT just going to try and lose this pallet for as long as possible as Delusion maybe gets picked up in this scenario.
Yeah, we are looking at our survivors now trying to get an escape, but a very, very speedy Cenobite is here. He does take the hit and a little bit of a fall down into the stairs. He considers picking up the box and starting that chain hunt. He was mind gaming the box pick. He does end up getting the hit on the Jake here, so now he's got his box in between 2 slugs and the locations of the other survivors. Not quite sure what he's going to play for here now, though. It does look like if we're going to have survivors in the basement, we are going to have a chain hunt, we are going to have an active Noed. I think the play here is just to get out, but that could be a little bit problematic with these inconvenient chains. Another slug at the gate. Marco choosing to take his other slug instead, which could provide time for La Magic to crawl out. We are going to be picking up VLT and placing him on the hook in mid. That'll definitely be La Magic crawling out, I'm pretty sure. There he goes, and Delusion leaving as well. But we do see the fresh hook onto VLT, so all 3 stages awarded for his death.
They can get away with sacrificing some stages to Luminescence Killer and maybe possibly pull through in the set number 2. We'll just have to see after a short break. Making this first hit for Yokat as troublesome as possible as Marco already finds the box off in the distance, so yeah, really denying any early game pressure for Yokat. And I feel like Cenobite gets really strong once you have that box pressure coming out. Although Yokat maybe going for the chain here, it's just not going to hit. There's too much in the way, and yeah, chain hunt completely denied here. Now it just comes down to the chase, is how long can you stall this hit for, as Marco has some fire movement coming out, completely dodging the chain, it is actually really hard to hit that chain if the survivor is moving to side. If they're pulling out the 360s, it's really hard to hit the chain, and Yokat just opts to apply pressure elsewhere, as main building Jin so far has the most progress. And I think if you're killer in this scenario, really there's not much point in touching it, as Yokat now gets a hit onto Sir, finally the first hit of the trial. And I think Master Survivors are in a good spot here. What do you say, Barn?
Yeah, I agree. They're doing really nicely here. We did hear a firecracker, so I'm assuming there will not be a blind in this case, but there was the firecracker used nonetheless. We are still continuing the chase here onto Sir, who is now in the deeply wounded state. We'll be making this vault, but not without a hit in the back. Now, I'm seeing a little bit of stabiffle action here, Squill, and if there's one thing I know about Save the Best, it's that it makes unhooking against the camping killer incredibly difficult. I'm not quite sure if that's the plan for Yokat here. We have been seeing Save the Best for last a little bit more in our competitive games now, which can be quite fun. It's a different way to kind of get those downs and get the hooks, and I do find that sometimes our killer players, rather than slowing the game down, they want to speed it up, and they can do that by having perks like these benefit them in the chase. So I'm interested to see if he chooses to increase those stacks and then play around denying the unhooks, and also interested to see how Master responds to him once he's all stacked up and playing around it, because sometimes they don't actually call it out and they can get into some tough spots. So I guess it's just a waiting game to see how that works out for Yokat here.
Yeah, I gotta say though, if I were Luminescence killer in this situation, if I were Yokat, I think you're kind of losing that possibility. You're sacrificing a possibility of running Sloppy Butcher or Forced Penance to kind of counter hit the hit takes. You do have Save the Best for last to kind of do that for you. Although once you hit the Obsession, you're going to be losing 2 to 4 stacks. We're now in chase with Sir here, who still has pallets available. You have the pallet in front of the main building. You have the pallet off towards this jungle gym with a window. And Yokat just doesn't really want much of a piece of it. You're just going to go ahead and pressure Sir away from generators and maybe try and find out some more survivors that are working on generator, as Yokat is now in chase with Marco here. That's going to be the juicy hit applied on to the Fang, onto Marco, and already getting another beautiful chain. That's going to be deep wound applied, and this wall has still not been broken, so the window here on main is looking quite strong as Marco opts to take pathing towards this pallet in the corner of the map. A very strong pallet, as we've seen time and time again. That's going to be the stun coming out. Very good reaction coming out from Marco. Master is in a very good spot here, and so far, I mean, Yokat, there's not much you can do. You do have the Noed available, but 4 generators completed now. The gen pressure from Master is huge. Box being completed, and so far, Master is pretty much on track to meet their win condition of getting a 3 out.
Yeah. Having a look at how this is playing out, he's looking a little bit lost, our Yokat. I think there's some areas of the map where he doesn't want to chase, where they're absolutely stacked. There's a lot of resources there. There's no gens. He's got no reason to go there. But there's so many of them that I think that his refusal to take chase there is preventing him from getting these downs and these hooks. We've got a nice hit here onto Sir, but incredibly unlucky, as we do see the last gen pop in the distance. Look at all of these chains here that we've got to work with. And we do see a down, we do get the box, and we now have Noed activated. 7 stacks of Save the Best for last, and a mission to get to these gates before the survivors open them. Yokat is on a mission. The gates are opened. Which gate is it, though? It is the one that he gets to, and we do see the 3 survivors leaving. We will be able to go back and hook Sir, but I just don't think that that's enough.
Yeah, well, very... Okay, what am I seeing here? Ace being quite tanky with the camera movement there, but yeah, Masters, Survivors, very well played, taking set 2, and we're going to be moving on to set 3 as well. I think if you're master here, you are quite happy with the result. Very well played. I have to give a shout out to Marco as well for that outstanding in-game, really putting the use of Noed through that we just weren't really able to see from Yokat, as master survivors were pretty well split up. Although, yeah, we'll have to see how it goes in set 3.
Yeah, we will come back to the Oni on the Coal Tower. We do end up with the final score of 43 to Master and 19 to Luminescence. Marco really showing that he is the master of the chains in this case. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to set up our Oni on the Coal Tower for our tiebreaker set, and we're going to see who's going to play a little bit better and take out the win. Really close games. Keep watching, guys. We'll be back soon. Welcome to our tiebreaker set, ladies and gents. We are on the Coal Tower with the Oni. We've got Yokat looking to set the win con here and try and take the match out for Luminescence. The survivor team of Master have returned with a -2 because of duplicate perks, duplicate lives in the prior game. It was a quick reset though, and we're back with some better perks that are approved and not duplicates. So we're ready to set the win con here and see what Kazan Yamaoka is capable of doing. He is off to a pretty good start here, finding a few survivors actually, and starting chase here. This looks like it may be a hit.
Oh, no.
It certainly is. A hit at 5 gens on Sir. Not what you want as a survivor team, but definitely what you want as the Oni. We do also see the splintered hull here, so we're going to be dropping more blood around the map for Yokat to get, which he's going to be doing whilst continuing the chase around the main building.
Yeah, Sir there got caught out in a position that he probably wouldn't have wanted to at that L wall there, and now little bit of a stronger side of the map, has the main building available, has a pallet gen available off to the left, and this filler pallet in front of main as well. A lot of resources still up to work with, although some of the pallets around main have been used, but there's still a lot to work with on the map. And Yokat looking to apply pressure elsewhere, using his power and trying to catch out whatever survivor he can in this scenario. It seems to be a pallet loop has been caught out, and Yokat just looking to pressure all of the generators. No stealth coming out from the survivors. That's going to be a huge down on the Pedro. Huge value out of the power coming out from Yokat, and it doesn't look like there's really going to be any gen completions. A little bit of eruption value coming out, and has Scourge Hook Pain Resonance to work with here as well. That's going to be 25% regression onto the Jin by the hill. Has 3 stacks left for 3 fresh hooks on the Pain Resonance value. And something to note there is that kick on the Jin there didn't really apply any eruption, so that Jin will not be affected by eruption on any future down. Yokat now in chase with pallet loop on the TNL walls. Pallet loop cannot use any pallets in this scenario, as it's just a TL wall that Sir got hit on earlier. But Sir giving Yokat that pallet, although it's not going to be broken, so if any means necessary is allowed, that could be any means necessary value coming out on that pallet, possibly if it's being used in this game. And Yokat gonna just go ahead, take spacing, protect the gens around Shack that have already been regressed by Eruption and Scourge Hook Pain Resonance, although all survivors are now reset, so pretty much a new game here.
Yeah, a new game with a very, very angry, glowing red Kazan into the Shack pallet. He has popped his power, and Pedro is happily going to give him that pallet to avoid it, and going to also hit him with this one. No flick montages for Yokat, unfortunately, here. Into the head-on, into the blind. It's a bully squad, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a look here and see how we go impacting. Oh, we are going to see Pedro take a big bonk to the head and go down. The bully Swift is not strong enough. We did hear a fast vault somewhere. I'm not quite sure who that was, but we are going to be putting poor Pedro up on this hook. We do have a little bit of blood around the map as a result of that splintered hull there, which Yokat can get. So I'm sure he's going to collect his blood and then go on a bit of a map tour and see how progressed these generators are.
Yeah, Yokat looking for as much eruption value as possible here, just kicking all the nearby gens in the vicinity of the hook. While also there's still 3 stacks of pain resonance remaining. You didn't really get any pain resonance value on that second hook onto Pedro, so no 25% regression coming out there, although that could have actually been very calculated by Yokat. Now the unhook does come through, but you really don't want to be using that 25% regression on a gen that's as far away as the right of main. And Pedro doing a very good job surviving on that pallet there, keeping it up, and now can make a completely safe loop around the long side. Still has a pallet up to work with. This is actually an infinite if it remains up. There's no way for Yokat to mind game this, and he'll have to just collect as much blood as possible from the value coming through from the vaults. When you vault a pallet as Survivor, you are giving Oni a lot more blood, a lot quicker, and Yokat now can play with his power around this pallet, although it's not going to be easy as Pedro's making it as hard as possible. Gonna go ahead, vault, not vault the pallet. That's really the down coming through on the Pedro. Very well played from Yokat, and this is going to be a death hook right here. Although only the eruption 10% regression to work with, no 25% coming through. So Yokat probably just wants to break this pallet and pressure those bottom generators as quick as possible.
Yeah, really nicely done to get a kill at 3 gens by Yokat, and a lot of resources now gone on the map. He's going to... Oh, he's faking the kick on the generator. He does finish it up, though, to force that regression there, and very nice to see. What we do have another gen off in the distance. That is complete. We are going to be chasing Palais now around the coal tower. We are looking for a hit. We need more blood. We get the hit, we get the blood, and now we're ready to ascend into our power once again. You can see the value that Yokat is getting from that splintered hull, but you can also see a vault straight into the killer. That is Marco going down, but not without the points from that generator that he just popped a few seconds ago. This leaves 1 gen remaining for our Survivor team here. Are they able to get it? Because it does look like we've got a relatively loose 3 gen down here, but there's not really much reason for Yokat to head on up to the shack side of the map anymore, Squill.
Yeah, although with that said, that main building generator is not incredibly easy to protect, as it does have the advantage of verticality, although balanced landing is not going to be allowed in this trial, so there is no option for that. But Yokat's just going to go ahead, take the extra eruption value, making sure if there is a down that happens, you're going to get the 10% from eruption, you're going to get the 25% from Scorch Hook Pain Resonance on a fresh hook. Very played from pallet loop there, vaulting the pallet and denying a hit for as long as possible. Although incredible mind games coming out from Yokat in order to get the down on the Nazi here. Gonna probably just hook on the nearest Scourge hook for any extra 25% regression, because this is the 3rd fresh hook of the trial, 3rd value from Pain Resonance, and Yokat just wants to pressure this gen, maybe wait for the eruption cooldown before kicking the gen, as Yokat will probably just pressure Sir. That's exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna kick the gen after eruption's recharged and head towards the survivors that just made that unhook happen. Maybe looking for a fresh hook here onto Sir. That 3rd stack of Pain Resonance may be coming out, although Sir doing a really good job on this L wall here, denying the hit for as long as possible. Yokat completely predicts the vault on the window, and that's going to be yet another down. Looking for as much value as possible. 10% came out onto both the generators, and if you're Marco and Pallet Loop in this situation, you really just want to be stealthing, really looking for a reset. I don't think... That's going to be a locker grab! Very well played. Yokat just sniffing out Marco there, being in the locker while injured, and Sir does get picked up quite quickly, so Very well played from Master. Still trying to push through, maybe trying to get another generator completion, although Yokat making it a huge challenge for Master in this situation.
Yeah, Yokat's doing incredibly well here, preventing this last gen from being done, getting a lot of fresh hooks and a lot of stages, and also getting value from his build and perks that he has bought. There's nothing here to help him in the end game, so he has to rely on these perks in chase with his bamboozle and then the eruption and pain resonance, of which he still has one stack for. We did just see a little head bobbing over the tile here of Pele. Pele will be going down. We do see an eruption proc or a not sure if that was an unhook in the distance. It was a notification of some type causing something, which is going to obviously alert Yokat to the whereabouts of survivors. But I think he's in quite a good spot here. He's got his power ready to go. He's got pools of blood all over the map that he can take his pick from at any time, and he's got a survivor on the hook in the middle of the generators that are left to be progressed. So in a relatively good spot. I'm assuming here he's sensing a reset, which did just occur. You can see that one survivor 99 to their heal, and then had the other finish them off, so to speak. Hopefully I didn't get twit-longered for that one, but they did just get finished off over there. We will be going for the unhook now. Perfect time to pop the power as we go in, hopefully to get the down and the BT hit there. We're now going to do some strategic targeting to the main door and continue this chase. Pele risking it to play the tile that he did just die in previously. Yokat.
Doing a bit of existing here, Yokat, not breaking the pallet, getting pretty angry at the locker over by the main building. Although Yokat in this scenario is just gonna go ahead and take this final hook onto Marco, as that's another survivor eliminated. No real progress on any of these generators. If you're Master here, you're really just looking to pull through with some resets, although it's not going to be easy if Yokat's just going to be able to find the next survivor because of scratch marks. But maybe Master here, they're just playing to possibly try and get Sir out in this scenario. A pallet loop will just take the down, and Yokat gonna go ahead and try and look for Sir, stealthing by the shack here, using the line of sight of the rock. What are the doors looking like in this situation? Looks like there's one door over by the shack and maybe one by main. So there's gonna be a lot of line of sight blockers coming through from Cold Tower. There's scratch marks right here. And Yokat has managed to find Sir, and that's gonna be the down over by the Z-Wall juice that was not really applied. But yeah, Yokat gets the final fresh hook onto Sir, and this is possibly a full 4K coming out on sacrificial hooks if Yokat can find Pallet Loop, who is possibly trying to deny points with the bleed out.
Yeah, he could be. He did go down in main, so I'm assuming that Yokat thought he would crawl away, which is exactly what he did, and easily a nice little hook there right next to it. But a 4K at 1 gen, that is an incredible result for Kazan Yamaoka on the Coal Tower today. Again, we've seen in the past some outs, we've seen some 4Ks. So you never know what you're going to get, but I think Yokat played this incredibly well, and we do end up with a final score of 6-28 because of that -2 to Master. So we're going to need a top-tier performance from the Survivor team of Luminescence, and an even better performance from our killer on Master, which we will see after a short break.
Alrighty guys, and here we are back on the Cold Tower on the Macmillan estate. Pedro has already found out Lay Magic, although not going to decide to commit to that chase because of the main building, although actually will maybe just applying dominance onto Luminescence survivors here, who all they have to do is get 3 generators done, and I believe that will completely secure the win. So Pedro, under a lot of pressure here, has to make sure to apply as much regression out as possible. And I believe that's why we're looking at a little bit of a change in build here. We're looking at Scourge Hook, Pain Resonance, 25% regression from that, along with Pop, which will also regress 25% of the generator's current progress, not total progress like Pain Resonance. So it's not as strong, but it's still pretty good if you want to keep the generators up and make sure they don't get completed. Although Luminescence's survivors just not allowing any sort of first hit to happen as Yokat plays that pallet correctly, gives it to Pedro. Pedro looking to just pressure the generators as much as possible here, keeping the chases under 15 seconds. And Sprint Burst coming out from Lay Magic, using it correctly, and has this pallet to work with as well. Gonna just go ahead and give it to Pedro. They're gonna probably just be dropping these pallets out quite quickly, as all they need is 3 generators. What do you think here, Barn?
Yeah, I think looking at it, it's quite a risky build from Pedro, right? Because all of his regression relies on getting hooks, and the way that Luminescence has been playing is denying hooks, and I think you can see by their chases and their refusal to give hits at this early stage in the match. They know what they're here to do, and they are not messing around. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to play incredibly safe. They may not be greeting like we did see them do on the Dead Dog Saloon in our previous games, and they may be choosing to play it safe and avoid getting the hooks. They're obviously not going to know about his build until, well, there we go, Cuss's Curse. They're not going to know about the build until the regression hits and they see him kick a gen with Pop Goes the Weasel and the proc of Pain Resonance. So they may be playing now to get those gens done in the back corner, why we're having a high intensity chase over here with VLT doing his best to play these pallets. That is the 2nd gen done. The 2nd gen pops in the distance. There's pools of blood everywhere. We are choosing to leave the pallet. VLT not dropping it just yet, trying to get as much value as he can against the Bloodlust 2 Oni. A beautiful stun coming through there, which allows him to get into main. It also allows Alkazan Yamaoka to collect his power and use it wherever he pleases. I'm just not sure if it's too little too late at this point, Squill.
Yeah, if you're Pedro here, I mean, this power usage has to be huge. It has to be absolutely massive. I believe you're looking to down all 4 survivors, but there's no real duration add-ons coming out here. It's just going to be the movement speed and blood orb occurrence. So that's me, another drop on the pallet. Still committing to the chase on Lay Magic, and I don't believe Pedro will have enough power, but that is a really good down on the Lay Magic. But he's just going to go ahead and pick up. There's not going to be enough power to down any more survivors, I don't think. And they may have been stealthing. Maybe one is off working on a generator. All they need is 1 more generator, and Luminescence will take the win here. But looks like the furthest progressed is 50%. Luminescence still playing it smart, still playing it safe, and making sure that you're not giving any huge value to Oni for his power, and I think that's kind of the smart decision. You do have a lot of moving room here if you're a survivor in this situation, and Pedro's going to find out another survivor here through scratch marks and pools of blood, but just opts to pressure a gen instead, and making sure that no more generators pop in this scenario. Is now in chase with Delusion, who does have a pallet gem available. Never mind, the pallet is actually dropped. I was wrong. Does do a really good job dodging around the rock. Huge mind games coming out from Delusion, and that's already half of Pedro's power completely gone, who now just needs to make sure to pressure more gens. And I mean, things are really falling apart here if you're killing. Lay Magic coming out with the spin, absolutely cranked on the fire movement from the Criminalist Adam. Has the window tiles to work with here, and that's going to be Pedro's power just completely gone. And now it's back to M1, back to Bloodlusting. Lay Magic has a decent amount of distance to work with here, but is going to opt to stay at the tile, although a lot of blood orbs around, not enough for a new power usage. Is that was a full power. Luminescence did an incredibly good job of completely denying any value from Oni's power.
Yeah, again, we're just seeing the power of Luminescence on the Survivor team. There is the third gen. There it is. There it goes. That was the win con. That is going to be the win for Luminescence here today. Now, we are going to play out the game because we are incredibly sportsmanlike here, but we are going to still see the win for Luminescence.
Yeah, Pedro not even going to go for the hit there on Delusion, not even going to take the opportunity to lose his power. Delusion did a very incredibly good job maneuvering around the rock there, just denying any hits from Pedro. It's really not easy to get the downs as Oni. It does take quite a bit of skill, and Pedro does have it. Like, he has shown time and time again that he can hit the flicks, but I mean, Luminescence movement, very well practiced on juking the Oni. A little bit of tag team juking coming out from Luminescence survivors, as Pedro has now transferred over to the very strong David. And that's going to be adrenaline as well. No power going to be given to Pedro, and you now have 4 survivors who are majority healthy. There is 1 injured, and Light Magic doing a bit of shenanigans, as Pedro has now found his way onto the injured survivor. Not even eating the blood orbs, just gonna go for bloodlust, just gonna play out this chase as an M1 killer. Incredible vault mind game coming out from Light Magic, and this is looking like it's gonna be the final down of the... Okay, the caster's cursor, not the final down.
It's the blood. He wants to make his montage.
He wants his power. He wants to put Light Magic in the montage, as Barn said. But very well played from Luminescence's survivors. Very well played on Yokat as killer.
Oh, beautiful hit through the pallet there. You love to see those types of hits, I'm sure. And we're going to see plenty more of them in our next game, Squill, because we have America's favorites, Cynic, up against Divine Dead as we finish off this game. Look at this beautiful display of friendship and esports and snoot booping. What a lovely display here. We do see the win here going to Luminescence. Master again put up an incredible fight and played incredibly well, but unfortunately not well enough to take the win today. But incredible games nonetheless.